Hi, everyone. I'm Amanda Levy, the Executive Director of No Peaking Theater, and welcome to In Lak'Ech. This is the second episode or the second installment of a three-part cultural series. In Lak'Ech is about the Latin American experience and what that means to the writers and performers that were chosen for this show. Quick note about us. No Peaking is a nonprofit sensory theater that provides a platform for all marginalized groups. That includes BIPOC, and we also create an accessible theater for people with disabilities. Um, Part of our sensory experience is actually creating sensory packages, which are for sale on our website and through Frigid as well. We did have a sensory package that was specifically curated for In Lak'Ech, as with all of our shows. The items that you received in your sensory package, if you purchased one, were a toy car, a piece of chalk, and a toy bird. You also received 3 fragrances, which were cumin, root, and coconut. Some things to think about while you're experiencing the show and the audio is to think about what you reflect on or what reminds you of these smells, how they affect your experience, whether they invoke any sort of memories or emotions, and do they provide content for you for the show, and what kind of context do they hold for you. Ways you can use it in the show itself if you decide not to be blindfolded, or if you decide not to close your eyes. You can actually organize them by chronological order. All items are numbered and you can use them whenever you feel appropriate, and that's completely at your discretion. These are more thematic enhancements more than anything else. We have another show coming up. This, like I said, this is the second installment in a 3-part series. The third part is actually next month in February for Blackout, which is a discussion of the Black experience. Also, sensory packages are also on sale. If you like what we're doing, if you like anything that you've heard or seen, experienced, sensed in any way, like in any sense of that word, feel free to donate to us. I also want to thank the Frigid Festival for giving us a platform to provide this content during the pandemic. So thank you so much. Please donate to Frigid. Please donate to No Peaking Theater. Our Venmo will be on the screen during the duration of the show. And if you want to know who the people are that have written and performed this work, you can actually find them in the crawl at the bottom of the screen. Thank you and enjoy the show.
$13 billion years ago, there was a singularity. Everything imaginable that was ever to exist, the overwhelming diversity of matter, from atoms to suns, grains of sand to the unfathomable vastness of galaxies. Everything in between, even space itself, was contained in a solitary, infinitesimal, and unified point. Things,
in other words, were a lot less complicated. But also, there were no things, just a thing, and oneness, uniform, united by its limitless potential. All was one. There was peace and comfort and silence in the universe, because there was no universe. Then, there was an unimaginable cataclysm,
an explosion. The earliest memory I have is of a car crash. My own personal Big Bang was framed within the picture window of our Midwestern house, a most somber shade of yellow, situated on a corner that housed a tavern and a ballet studio. I was 4 years old. I remember the cars colliding with elegance in what seemed like slow motion, the chimes of shattered glass, A collapse of two metal accordions, tires shrieking at the inevitability of it all. I saw the guts of each car spill out into the street as my mother entered the room asking, "What happened?" My first memory in life is of a car crash, and you can say I was born of a car crash. My father, a first-generation Mexican in a Midwestern town. My mother, white, that is, some vaguely European mix, the specifics lost in the generational struggles to reach the lowest rung of the middle class. My mother's parents dreamed their daughter would become a nun. At 16, when she announced she was pregnant, you can bet my grandpa was hoping it was an immaculate conception. The conception was far from immaculate, and my mom wasn't cut out for a career in Catholicism. My dad, 17, well-liked, if unspectacular student, he was on the wrestling team. He worked hard to fit in. It was 1969, the summer of love, the year they put a man on the moon. On Earth, my parents decided to get married and to have me. So I had a brown dad and a white mom. The collision between my mother and father was always a source of confusion for me. From the very beginning, there was a number of unanswerable questions. Wonder Bread or tortilla? Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood or In Lak'Ech? Norman Rockwell or velvet paintings of bullfights? Compounding the problem was the fact that my father wanted to make sure we didn't stand out. Spanish was not spoken in our household. Assimilation. He wanted all to be one. What happened instead was I grew up with this overwhelming sensation that I was from another planet. I had deduced that my parents were not my real parents. I believed that my real mom and dad were from some other faraway planet and on a visit to Earth had forgotten, had left me behind. And when my Earth parents stumbled across my adorable little self, well, how could they resist? Some early childhood heroes: Superman, Spock, Robin Williams as Mork from Ork. In the opening moments of Mork and Mindy, when Robin Williams breaks out of the egg, I recall having this feeling of complete empathy. Yes, I know what that's like. I was a decidedly new and strange thing altogether. The arrival of my sister, Stephanie, added the fuel to the fire of my alien child theory. You see, from the age of 1.5 to 4, she spoke in this strange language that no one but myself understood. It was not English or Spanish. It was, in my mind, the language of my real parents, of my home planet. Mom, she's hungry.
What does she want?
Do? She wants McDonald's French fries and a hamburger. For 3 years, I was my sister's faithful interpreter, the sole link in communication between my sister and the rest of the world. One day, her language just evaporated into thin air, and my sister spoke perfect English, as if languages were merely a coat that one could slip on and off at will. Unfortunately, none of this alien language of hers survives, save one word, which I still remember. Lulu. Lulu meant house. Things got real interesting when we would visit my father's mother. She came to America in the late 40s and never learned to speak English. A conversation between my grandmother and my sister would take an interesting chain of command. My grandmother was always in the kitchen, cooking for the endless streams of relatives that always filled her house. She would ask my sister a question.
¿Qué es tu comida favorita?
What is your favorite meal? The laba voodoo foo. McDonald's French fries and hamburger. Papas fritas y hamburguesas de McDonald's.
Dios.
My grandmother died in 1990, and the two of us never had a direct conversation with each other. Despite this fact, I was told that I had been her favorite grandson and that she wished me to be a pallbearer. It took 8 years for the collision between my mother and father to end. The divorce was quick and painful. Each picked up the pieces of the wreck and did their best to start completely new lives. About 10 years after my parents' divorce, I divorced my parents. And ever since the divorce, I've been trying to come to terms with myself, trying to figure out who exactly I am. Over and over again, I've attempted to strip away all the tangled details of my life, having tried to get at the essence, the root of my identity. And when it all has been whittled away, I'm left with a car crash. My first memory in life is of a car crash. You could say I was born of a car crash.
Coffee black, saxophones plant neon jazz and panting night as you run in the bush and over parched-lipped streets, burning with nothing. Dust rises up after your feet like a round of applause as you fly past fruit the size of trees.
A crosshair caresses your back, draped in sweat, a lover's gaze beckoning you to bed. The dominoes cast themselves as they fall and land like dilapidated dissidents around leaning palms, while lamps and rumours spilt in an ugly spat that all the neighbours will know about.
In the haste of nocturne, the tangled laces of shoes impair you more than dragging parachutes. As night lays flat over the shaded pastels of arcades, like a woman on a canvas. The fever of humidity precautions out of you like the shouts from balconies' mouths that will circulate plazas of blood-splattered sun.
Swinging dresses brush up against asesinos and guajiros, gossamer veils and gauzy shrouds in solitude and in crowds. Abbreviated flames of gunshots flare briefly like the tips of cigars, instantly a smoke screen of windpipes and shrieking birds of prey, sleek, faint cars flipped with tables and seats, over which you and the evening orchestra leap.
You find that your spine aligned like a spiral stair, shivering with dances, sways in defiant motion, keeping time with spiders in leather soles. The seesaw mechanics of wah-wah horns echo the ruin lapping your heels in starved asylums of old Spanish stone. And propaganda peals from gramophones arrayed like warped flower bells raised by speeches and sermons.
The molecular sound of maracas mirror the promise of shrapnel rattling inside your head, lead pellets scattering in an amber glasscape, a hurricane held up to your eye.
Intent on atomizing you, the firing squad's signature is anonymous. Its ink, imminent. Note for note, everything is an equation. Duration rate, your time on stage, a strand of DNA.
Nevertheless, in a city blindfolded by its own bandages, sequestered in sand and besieged by the sea, the visage of beauty moans from El Malecón, as if it was a breath caught in the throat of a mirage, always on the point of being extinguished.
Somewhere, someone wraps a little ribbon around a Santera doll. A Lázaro with his dog, or a sable princess, and offers it a plate of food they don't have. To placate it, they pontiff on a wooden high chair.
They find it funny that you read To Die and Today the same way, that your words become marbles in disarray. The fragments you read are barely visible, like snatches of sunlight imprisoned in tropical rain, or a doctor cycling through the dreamless street with a real wage, or a computer screen free of barnacles. Behind you, a rock star in a beret gazes nowhere intensely.
Peeling with the plaster stamped on parliaments and ornaments. Every day in class, you recite that you will be like him. But you can't ride off on a motorcycle and drive along the spine of America. No, your circuit is closed off and bound for an endless revolution. And as you look for a moment into your cup of coffee, as a little island of cookie floats up,
And you stir your spoon again and again until the spill is an odyssey around the saucer.
you're going to be late for school.
When they glance my way, they see a black woman with long hair.
Is that your real hair? They ask me. Can I touch it? Go right ahead, I say.
Endless amount of fingers have touched my hair, and every now and again, nails graze my scalp searching for tracks.
What are you? Would I simply reply, a human on planet Earth, I'll be branded as rude. Instead, I reply,
Haitian American. But your hair is so long. I should clarify. Well, my mom's side is West Indian Haitian, and my dad's side is Caucasian Haitian.
But I'm Haitian American. They step
back. I see their eyes scanning my skin, categorizing me, and seeing if the answers are believable.
Haitian, they think? Haiti? They've heard of it before. It's the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere. Their eyes
ask what they do not see. Do you
Do you
speak
speak
Haitian?
Yes, I speak Creole. Is that like French? It's a mixture of Taino, Indian, Portuguese, Spanish, French, English, and West African.
Questions about my identity, my history, my ancestry. Where is Haiti?
Questions with such intrigue because their eyes need to make sense of what they see.
For I am an anomaly. I take pride in my complex background. First generation Haitian American, native of New Jersey.
My ancestors were once slaves captured first by the Spanish, followed by the French. The first independent nation of Latin America and the Caribbean to become independent.
They may share an island, but proudly, they wave their own flags. La
L'union fait la force. Unity makes strength. You see, the question will never stop.
For I stand proud to know that my history bleeds across the Caribbean
seas. My identity, sometimes checked in the simple category black to the untrained eye, but other to me.
I'd rather remain a mystery for when they ask me, is that your real hair? What are you? Well, I am but a human.
I proudly answer, I am a Haitian American.
As I wait for the questions to roll in.
Growing up, my daily routine included the staging of pharaoh dances with pariahs. Those who criticized my shadows and unkept appearance as if skin could be chosen. I longed for safe passage from my multicultural conflict of interests along the dark side of this chain-linked fence on race relations. As a café con leche stand-in for a child who appeared in an anthology to Coffee Beans and Creamer, I first looked to my parents for all the answers. They never relented in their dedication to social witness protection. I wondered how they decided to take turns redacting the antiquities of my cultural inheritance. unintentionally becoming the estranged prodigal son of my ancestors. I recorded over these memories of mulatto surprise, and next looked towards the sea, to stencil in the empty spaces of my ethnicity. Although unable to swim, my eyes danced around its splatters and uneven waves, hoping that the sirens would serenade me with my half-histories. I sat atop the marble sand, adrift from the kindred spirits who have defined me. In those fleeting moments, identity was merely a four-syllable word, floating against the current. Here, the brine mixed with caffeine to usher in a sojourn beneath my melanin sheath. My hair follicles are temporarily granted immunity from the trade winds that blow in utterances from my past. Voices that questioned my dedication to bachata breakbeats and cultural assimilation. Fearing that neither the fence nor the sea wanted me, I became a black oak leaf, swept away by the incoming breeze.
I wasn't born here. My father came to be a part of the great American experiment. When we moved to Cleveland in the winter, the snow was menace, the bare trees attacks on our souls. No one spoke our language. Imagínate. Everything was different. The smells, the food, the ground beneath our feet. I was very young. My home country, Colombia, was color. Green periquitos, mar, agua marina. Cleveland was gray and oppressive, brick and low, heavy sky. I remember very little of my childhood. Impressions. There was snow. I remember that. There were bologna and white bread sandwiches. And Twinkies. Twinkies were little packets of joy, little bits of yellow sunshine in my hard, cold metal lunchbox. I remember being constantly afraid to speak and of feeling different, but not knowing why. I felt like a periquito in a cage, singing to be set free, but if you opened the door, too frightened to escape. A white lady babysat us once. Just once, because my parents had been invited to a New Year's Eve party. We were so uncomfortable with that nice white-haired lady. She was so foreign. But she read the original Wizard of Oz to us, and I was fascinated to learn that other people thought America was gray too. I was glad to know I was right. I found the original Oz books. They lived on the top shelf of an ancient brick library in downtown Cleveland. Dusty. Unseen for a decade, maybe more. I devoured those books, describing a land with color and magic and people who could speak to each other even if they looked different. And I wondered with all my heart if the great and powerful Oz would ever rescue me from Cleveland.
So, me encontré.
Claro que te encontré. Did you think that your tyranny wouldn't come to a close? That you would remain unchallenged your whole life?
So that's what gringos think of type. Desagradecido. Did you forget what I did for this country, muchacho?
What did you do? Damn it, what did you do besides kill and destroy innocent people in your efforts to become some god that you never were? Sin vergüenza.
I served my country all my life. I have served this country when Hurricane San Zenon struck la ciudad de Trujillo in 1930 and destroyed our very capital. My money and my time into this city, routes, monuments, landmarks, todo en el nombre de mi país, la República Dominicana. What have you done for anyone?
I fought for the belief of freedom in my country, to avenge all of who did.
You did nothing for the Dominican Republic, gringuito. I gave our people economic prowess. I gave those who lost their homes a new one. I look after my people. During the American past, a villain who came to destruir la República Dominicana. I am the greatest hero this country has ever had. All I asked was for respect. El respeto que yo propio gané.
Respect? You killed my grandfather, sent troops to slaughter my best friend, murdered my wife. Do you know all of our Haitian brothers that you killed? Innocent little girls like the Mariweta sisters that you raped. You made us rich in economics, but poor in societal progression. You forever tainted this country's reputation, maldito loco.
What do you know about any form of struggle? You've let to go to America with your lambong father. You never did anything with this place, gringo. You just kill people. Kill. Just like I did. Instill a sense of respect. You know why you kill those Haitians? They brought drugs into my country, raped my women, created crimes. For my people, you murder those possible fathers that work for me for only your venganza. You chose this life. Those are your consequences.
You liar! You killed all of those Haitians because of their skin. You felt it was impure of your people to have dark skin like they do. You are ashamed of your country's lineage. It's why you hide behind creams to brighten your skin. You're nothing but a fake Dominican. Those people had nothing to do with you. They never had a chance.
Yo soy la República Dominicana. This country is nothing without me. Dime, tú piensas que con todo lo que te ha hecho hoy, que tú vas a caminar sin nada pasarte mañana? Do you think the man that succeeds me will do as much as I have for this country? Stupido, you have no place here. Run to the Americans while you can.
Coño, yo soy dominicano. I was born and raised here. All that you've done for this country was for yourself. All your money that you stole from your people went to the mouths of all your illegitimate children while you declared martial law to enslave your own people. You know nothing about being a leader or anything about this very land.
Dice quién. ¿Quién eres tú? Para decir quién es un buen líder. You are the same man who did errands for men too cowardly to inspire a movement themselves. It's why they're all dead. Your life has no meaning. Look at you. You're a fool, eh? So vienes aquí dressed like an American with the same mindset as those bastardos. You claim to be from here, but show no evidence of such.
You know, for the entirety of my life, I never knew exactly where I stood. On one hand, I was born light-skinned with fair hair. On the other hand, I was born in the Dominican Republic with an attitude and Latino spirit too strong for average white American. Disrespected and discriminated everywhere I went. I never found a true identity, and I never knew where to fit. I know what I am, and I know what I represent now. The country I was born in was one of life, freedom, and family. Now it's one of fear and gluttonous pride, under an insecure dictador who would kill his brother if he spoke ill of him. This is my home, and I'm fighting for it now.
You will never feel here, Ricardo. Give up your fight.
You never were one of us. You destroyed the freedom of the people, but not their spirits. I will live to see your terror end and the Dominican Republic return to a free country, a country liberated of dictators. I'll always be more of a hero to these people than you, Trujillo. Buena suerte en la otra vida. Jefe, may we live better lives.
I was a child of the 60s. I heard words like spick directed at me. In the third grade, I received a not so high grade of C- on a test. I was upset. After school, I saw my teacher walking to his car. Mr. Cullen, I'll never forget that name. He was walking with another teacher. Suddenly, I built up the courage to chase after him and asked him how I could fix this. I was 8 years old. He dismissed me, and as I started to walk away, I could hear him say to the other teacher, "What difference does it make? She's going to have 10 kids by the time she's 20 anyway. It's just what they do." They laughed. My uncle Tio Julio would take me to Newark's main public library on most Saturday afternoons. I remember how much he loved to read. I told him that I wanted a book about babies. He asked me why. I told him because I'm going to have 10 by the time I'm 20. You should have seen the look on his face. Now, I didn't know where babies came from when I was 8, nor did I know how I was going to get them. Maybe some would be left at my doorstep. Maybe some would fall from the sky, or maybe, like in the cartoons, some would be delivered by a stork. My uncle asked me how and where I heard such stupidity. I told him from my teacher. Tio Julio did not tell my mother about this because he knew how much it would upset her. He was a very congenial man, so he handled it. He went to the school. There was a meeting where afterwards, Mr. Cullen was allowed to go back to his class to continue to mold the minds of the future. My uncle never told me what happened in that room. Family back then did not sit with their kids and say things like, "Sweetheart, sometimes adults do silly things." No, they just handled it. That Saturday, my uncle checked out some books for me. Books about historian and accomplished Puerto Rican writers and poets like Dr. Selma S. Arigotia, Dr. Miguel Algarin, and my favorite, Luisa Capetillo, Puerto Rico's most famous labor organizer who fought for workers and women's rights. You know that saying, smoking marijuana could lead to heavier drug use, like cocaine? The marijuana my uncle rolled in my head were books which led me to my stronger drug of choice, writing. Thank you, Tio Julio. And Mr. Cullen, wherever you are, I got married first. I had my first son, Michael, at the age of 25, and my second son, Joseph, at the age of 27.
I was muted. Sorry. Thank you so much for attending In Lak'Ech. Please join us for a third installment on February 10th at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for Blackout. Thanks for joining.